Hi, I'm
And
Ernie,
I'm Ben.
and this is Budget Nerds.
What was all in your mind?
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Friends, we have Ben back. Ben, welcome back to Budget Nerds.
I'm back from paternity leave. And actually, the reason for why I was away on paternity leave is right here. Do you want to see my baby?
Absolutely.
It's a baby. This is
Oh
Gil.
my goodness.
Here he is in the flesh. So,
Hi, Gil.
I'm sorry I had to leave you guys for a little while, but I think it was worth it for this little guy. He's doing really well. This is our fourth baby. And yeah, he's a part of the family. He's kicking it. We got a new normal going. It's going really well. But I'm glad to be back.
What are you thinking? Future Budget Nerd?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, showing any signs?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, look at him. He's already like mesmerized. I got the budget. I got my budget up right now. He's just mesmerized by it. Look at him.
Gil, give us a budgeting hot take.
Well, I think that we should budget more for diapers. I don't know. That's the only thing that really costs right now. But there you go. All right, I'm gonna hand him over. Bye.
Oh, adorable. Well, congratulations. Good to have you
I'm
back.
glad to be back. So, well, what are we talking about today, Ernie? Because I'm out of the loop. I've been, away.
Yeah, I've been running the show, and boy, I hope I did it justice. But I guess we'll see as these episodes release.
Great job. I've loved the episodes with other folks. It's been really exciting. I think it kind of, infused some new life into the show, and maybe I think we'll have more guests on in the future. So yeah, it's been fun.
Excellent. Well, today we're going to do another Q&A. So this is going to be our third one.
All right.
It's appropriate. This is our 40th episode already. Can you believe that?
What? That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of episodes.
40.
That's really cool.
So we put a call out to the YNAB fans group again on Facebook. Hey, what do you want us to talk about? And then we're going to pick probably, 6 or 7 of the top questions and just answer those.
All right.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So we got some here. I'll start with Joanna here. Joanna says, how do you determine if increased spending after a raise is from lifestyle creep or truly from, quote, we've always wanted / needed to do this, but couldn't afford it to do it until now? Good question. Lifestyle creep. That's a term that's like vaguely out there. What does that even mean?
Well, always increasing the spending as your inflows, as your pay is increasing, right?
Yeah. And it kind of has this like insidious, this like creep thing going on, like it happens without you noticing it, right?
Yes. And then I think there's also a shame and guilt piece, right? If you get this nice raise or a generous raise, and then all of a sudden you're spending more of that, oh, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. We talked about it with Jesse before. He doesn't like this term. He's like,
no, he
rejects it out of hand. And I think he's right. Like, because...
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. It just has a lot of shame with it. I don't think it's very helpful,
And what's the example he always uses? I don't want to live in the apartment that my wife and I lived in when we first got married.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, it's almost implying like, if you increase your lifestyle spending at all, you're bad or something. And that's just... I don't know. That's not true. Like, I think you want to be sure you're doing it intentionally. That's the key.
Okay, so lay out your take.
Okay,
on this.
Here's my hot take. If you are budgeting and you're like doing the thing, like you're budgeting, you're doing the stuff. This is not a concern. Like, just don't worry about it. That's my thing, because you are so intentional about your spending. You're very aware of what you're doing. Every decision is made with thought and with intention. So lifestyle creep, that like insidious thing where you don't notice it happening, is not a thing. Like, it literally can't happen. That's kind of my take. If you're budgeting, lifestyle creep is not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my hot take.
My take, I don't know if you can actually ever know completely.
Well,
right. Maybe sometimes you can. But I remember when we just moved into our new house, I remember thinking, this is not lifestyle creep.
Right.
Like, our boys are now teenagers. They all need their own rooms. This is what we need. So I did not feel any guilt about that. And then shortly upon moving in, I decided I need a new coffee grinder, right? I have this new kitchen. And so I went out and bought this Baratza coffee grinder,
All right.
like a high-end coffee grinder for me, because I'd been hand grinding my coffee for all these years.
Okay, nice.
And part of me was like, this is lifestyle creep. I don't need this, but I actually kind of really want it.
So for you, it's like, it's a question of how bougie it is, basically, is what I'm hearing.
Well, what I've settled on is I don't want to always say no, and I don't want to always say yes.
That's good. I like that.
So there are going to be times where I buy things that are clearly in line with lifestyle creep, and I just kind of accept that. And then there are going to be times where I'm sure I'm just kind of hoarding my money. I should go ahead and buy that, but for whatever reason, I'm deciding not to. So I just try to keep a balanced approach.
Yeah. And also, I mean, look at your big goals, like really big, like retirement and, saving for college, or it's just like big things. And if those are not in jeopardy, then what are you worrying about?
Yeah.
Or you're like your general feeling of security. Like if you feel secure and you're getting your big goals taken care of, like what are you scared of? I think that's part of it. Maybe it's a kind of a scarcity mentality that you might have, where maybe you've lived your life before and you were like, well, I used to never spend any money because I felt insecure and I wanted it to have it. And maybe sometimes it's hard to let go of that feeling when you are secure and when you are reaching your goals, So yeah, I like that.
And I know if I'm ever feeling like I'm buying everything that I lay eyes on, then I'll put some sort of spending freeze limitation on myself, or maybe you do the more money challenge. You can always do these little things that give you that, I don't know, just change of pace. Like I'm going to say no to the Starbucks this afternoon and make coffee myself, just so I can feel better that I'm not always spending money.
Yes, I'm kind of doing that. I'm smiling to myself because I've done that in two ways recently. One, I am not buying any more video games because I have like literally dozens of games that I bought that I haven't played on my like Steam library, right? And I'm just like, okay, I gotta stop. I have to stop. And my friend texted me the other day and he's like, hey, this game's 50% off. Do you want to buy it? We could play it together. And I'm just like, no, I have all these other games I haven't played. So I gotta stop. And also, you might know I've been interested in playing poker with some friends. And I need to stop. It's not the poker that's a problem. It's the poker chips. I keep buying. Let me just hang on a second. Hang on. I keep buying these poker chips. I can't stop buying them.
Wait, didn't you just get a whole bunch of
yes, okay.
for Christmas?
So for Christmas, YNAB, because YNAB gives us birthday presents because it's the best dang employer in the world, and they bought me 500 poker chips. I now have 1,200 poker chips because I kept buying more. Because you need like a certain amount. If you have people over, you need a certain amount so there's enough for everybody.
Okay,
right. So it's reasonable, but like. I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I definitely have enough, but I don't know. I don't have any 50-cent pieces. I have like 5 cent, 10 cent, 25 cent. I don't have any 50 cent, but like I could use 2 quarters. And anyways, it's a problem.
Okay, so you're stopping that.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I think what you're saying, Ernie, is good. It's like, okay, there might be some points where you're like, you know what? I think this hobby or something, maybe it's gotten a little out of control. And I'm going to pause just so I'm not automatically spending money on this, right?
Okay.
But I might buy some more poker chips later. I mean, I have a spreadsheet with like
Of course you do.
I have a spreadsheet that like how it would affect the distribution for my poker nights if I had a 50-cent chip, and it's kind of interesting. But like I don't really need it. So, but I'm not going to buy it at least for a while. I'm going to think about it for like a month. Okay. And maybe that's part of it too. If you're like, feel like you're spending too much, just like think about your purchases for like a month. Some people say like, oh, sleep on it. I'm like, sleep on it. That's not enough. Like, like sleep on it like one day. Like think about whether to buy something for like a month. And if you still want it after a month, then you can buy it.
That's a good point.
Anyways, oh man, there's a lot here. We could do a whole episode on this.
I'll share one more
Okay.
story since we do have a lot here, and I'm going the other way. So I don't play video games. Like I'm just that middle-aged dad now.
Right.
And
I'm holding on. I'm like holding on to still playing video games. Anyways, go ahead, Ernie.
And but I realized, okay, I want to buy a video game. I want to start playing something on my phone. And so I had been putting it off, for years and years. Didn't want to ever pay any money for any video games. And then I downloaded this Pixel Pro Golf game.
Oh, okay.
And it has ads. I'm like, these ads are annoying, right? So I'm gonna buy the actual game.
Right.
And it was $3.
And you're like, slippery slope, lifestyle creep, Ernie.
I did hem and haw about that $3. And like, Ernie, this is ridiculous. Buy the game and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so
it's
I
okay.
did.
It's fine. You're not going to become.
So sometimes I think
it's not going to be a problem.
You need to spend money.
Yeah.
I think it is okay just to freely spend the money that you have already set aside.
Yeah, but do it intentionally, and that's really where it's at.
Yep.
All right, moving on.
That was a good one, Joanna.
Yeah, good question. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on that. We can just rehash it all. Natalie, you want to read Natalie's, Ernie?
Yeah. Natalie asks, how are you each rolling with the punches and adjusting your budget now that so many things are increasing in price? So talking about inflation here. I love the way Natalie phrased it. How are you rolling with the punches? Because that's what inflation is. It's like dealing with this large unexpected bill, and so we're needing to take money from other categories, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's there's a big punch. Everyone in the whole world. I mean, it's not just in the US where we are. It's literally like every developed country is seeing increased prices right now, and it's a punch. It really is.
And Matthew on our support team said it best in the personal finance channel when we were talking about inflation as a team. He said the thing with inflation is you didn't do it. It's you can't control that. Whereas if there's other overspending in the budget, right? That's something you did. And so it's somehow easier to roll with the punches, but when we have no control. But anyway, what I've actually been doing is just taking money from, and it sounds cliche, but it's the truth, just those less important categories. And so for me, I've been trying to fund for a new vehicle that's 5 or 7 years down the road. And then Christy and I are also saving for some major home renovations. Well, I haven't been able to fund either of those categories for probably 3 or 4 months now.
Yeah.
Because the money that I have been putting towards them gets pulled out and ends up going towards primarily groceries.
Yeah. I mean, what can you do? It's just something you have to deal with. I mean, for me, I've been able to fund things, but it's been more like I've had to make choices like to change my targets. Actually, that's kind of how I've been handling it. Like if I see it, okay, gas, for example, man, I went like 3 months with like, I'm overspending a lot in gas. And it's like, well, hello, of course you are, right? Because everything changed. And so when I notice I've been overspending in a category, I will be like, okay, we need to deal with this. And I'll call, my wife in for a budget meeting, and we'll talk about changing targets. And when we change the targets in our budget, it's like a big deal. It's like a big talk, because we decide where we're going to take it from, even if it's like $30 or something like that, So yeah, we would increase gas and we would take it from somewhere else, So yeah, it really is. I don't like doing like the ad hoc, like I'm just not going to fund this category. I'm more like, I'm going to make a whole change my budget, which can be harder because it's changing all the time, but I'm just kind of feeling it out as it goes and as it changes. Sometimes it goes the other way too. Like I'll be like, I feel like I have a lot of money in this category, right? Like here's a good example, like babysitting, right? We would pay for a babysitter to come so Caitlin and I can go on a date night, but we just had we have a little infant, right? So we're not going out as much, and so like the babysitting category is like really big, and I'm like, maybe we don't need so much there right now for this time, and we're not going to be going out as often, So I just kind of feel it out, and then when I realize there needs to be a change, I make a change to the target. That's kind of how I handle it.
Oh, that's a good approach. And that's probably something I should do. I need to change that groceries target because it's outdated.
Well, it is hard to
And
do
we're
though
always
because
going over.
I don't know. I feel like for the past many months there was a time I feel like when everybody was like, oh, this is temporary, like it's just going to be for a little while, and then people were kind of realizing maybe this isn't so temporary, this is kind of going on for a while. So I felt like I didn't want to change the budget that much because I thought things might go back to normal, but it's gone on for a while, so then you can adjust. But I think it's just constantly adjusting those targets as you need to is kind of a good way to go.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird too. I know for me, I feel almost, I don't know if it's guilty or bad. I don't know what it is when I can't fund every category in the budget because for so long we were just kind of, cruising along and I was able to
Mhm.
add money to every single category. And a lot of months I could hit all of those targets.
Right.
So I saw all that green, there was no yellow. But now I'm seeing a little bit more yellow creeping in, and I know that's not an indicator of success or failure,
Right.
but there's something in me that almost like
Well,
dies
yeah, maybe it's kind of bothering you. Like
when I see
for me, I'm
that.
like, oh, I always want that like template to match my income, and my income's really predictable, so it's easier for me. So that's kind of the approach I take. But yeah, I can I can totally get how that would feel. Like, yeah, do you feel like you feel guilty, or do you feel like it's just a bummer?
I think it's more of just a bummer.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't able to fund every single category because it feels great, right? When you can just stuff some cash in every single category, but
Mhm. Mhm.
and I think it's good for me just to sit in that and be like, you know what? Every month is different. There's going to be these ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And I'm still absolutely okay if I don't fund 2 or 3 categories. It really is no big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. And it's funny actually because I probably end up the same way in the end because I will fund every category at the beginning of the month, but because of the increased prices, maybe that wasn't enough, like for gas or groceries or whatever it is, and so I'll move some money from other categories, and I'll end up not fully funding those categories by the end of the month. But then I'll like be like, oh, I've done that for 3 months now. Probably need to adjust those targets and actually just admit that this is the reality. You know what I mean?
Okay. And one other thing that I do, and I don't know if this is helpful, but I do try to only pull money from a category that was funded that month.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Right? So I don't like, ending the month with less money in a true expense than what I started the month at.
Mhm.
I just take away the money that was funded that current month.
Yeah, I
But
do the same thing.
that might just be personal
I
preference.
for some reason, I think it's just to avoid like eating away at the future, or like losing
Yeah.
your ground on getting a month ahead or something like that. I always try to adjust, yeah, to cover money from within the same month. So like the walls are kind of
That's well
the
said.
months are walled off a little bit, so I can because otherwise, we talked about one of our very first episodes. We talk about that margin that I have, right, where my template is
Yes.
about like $300 less than my income, so I have some money just every month to just kind of put to wherever and deploy wherever it needs to be deployed, right? And I
Yep.
really want to protect that. For a long time, that money would just cover overspending that I didn't cover before the end of the month. But now I actually cover it within the same month, and then I have that full margin. I think it really helps.
Okay.
Man, lots to talk about there. I feel like every single one of these questions could be a full episode, but
Man.
maybe that could be. All right, let's talk about Erica's questions. I love this one. This one's something that we get asked about a lot. Erica asks, do you let your kids see your budget? I want my kid to learn about budgeting, but I don't want him to know all that we have and spend either. I'm glad he knows we have one and we check it against it before spending, just debating on showing him all the nitty-gritty details. Yeah, that's a good question. What do you do, Ari? Because we're in different situations. I have little kids, you have older kids. What do you do?
Yeah, I've got 3 teenagers, 3 teenage boys, and I do let them see the budget. I don't go out of my way to say, "Hey, this is what mom and dad are paid, and this is what I'm spending."
Mhm.
Though sometimes if I'm like, at the mechanic or something or grocery shopping, I'll drop a number just so that they start kind of thinking, "Oh, this is about what dad was paying for these expenses." But now I hate when my kids look over my shoulder at my phone, right? It's like texting or, playing Pixel Pro Golf, whatever. It's like, no, get out of there. But if I'm budgeting, I'll actually kind of let them kind of look at to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Again, And I usually try to tell them, hey, anything you see here, like the numbers, we these are private numbers, so don't go sharing them with your friends. But here's what I'm doing. Here's an expense I'm paying. I'm setting aside money for this particular thing just to get them thinking about budgets.
Mhm.
And there's one of my boys, my youngest, who is probably the most interested
Right.
in what I'm doing.
Right. You
I
kinda
even tried setting him up with his own budget, but he didn't take to that at all. He still just kind of wants me to do it in the family
Uh-huh.
budget, tell him how much he has available.
Yeah, that's cool. I think you can find that every kid's gonna be different, so there might be some that you wanna show a little more than others. Like, you might have one kid who's a little more discreet than others. He's not gonna go blabbing how much money you make in the world. They might be more interested in
Right.
seeing the details. Uh, I keep coming back to, like, that, that common phrase, "More is caught than taught," you know? If your kids see you budgeting and, like, you don't necessarily have to get into all the details. If they just see you doing it and they see that you live by that, then they're gonna get those values and they're gonna start doing it themselves. And then as they get older,
Yeah.
you can be more explicit in teaching them how to do it. But I have little kids, and I wrote a blog. Gosh, it's probably like 3 years old now. I'm gonna look that up. Um, yeah. Okay. So the blog is called "How My 2-Year-Old Started Budgeting." Maybe we could put that in the description. And I just had a whole experience where my son Teddy, he wanted ice cream and he asked for, he was literally a 2-year-old, so he was just learning to really talk properly. And he asked me, and I happened to have my phone out and I was looking at my budget at the time, and I showed him our entertainment category, and I was like, "We don't have enough money," and he just said, "Then we won't go." And I was like, "What?" You get it? Like, I was just like, "We don't have enough money for that right now." It was like the end of the month, And he's like, "Then we won't go." And he just moved on and kept playing, and he was totally fine with it. I thought it was gonna be a breakdown, Like, they kind of get it,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll link to that blog. It's fun. It's a fun little story. It's
And
pretty cool.
that's really all that I'm trying to instill at this point with my boys is spend the money that you have. But here's the thing. They've started picking up on it is still possible to spend money when you don't have it.
Oh, they're learning about credit
And
cards and all
so
that.
I have one of my boys has been asking, can I go into debt with you? And at first
Oh.
I was like, no, you only spend the money that you have. But then I'm like, I think I want to let him go into debt with me
Wow.
because I want him to feel that the next time he's paid, because he has a little dog walking job,
Uh-huh.
the next time he makes money, he's going to have to give that to me, and he's not going to be able to do anything else with it.
That's
I almost
brilliant.
want him to feel that.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Because there's no harm done
Mhm.
in that situation. The harm is when he's given, or he needs to give all that money to MasterCard or Visa or something like that.
Right. You're not going to charge him interest, are you? So
Not yet.
Not yet.
So he isn't in debt with me yet, but I'm thinking I'm going to let him go.
Well, I think that's good
and
because
just
you
see what
teach
plays
the
out.
principle of, like, hey, you spend the money that you have, right? And then as they get older, you can kind of show them, actually, everything I taught you before is false, and you can spend more money than you have. But like, let's experience
remember-
it, And I think that's really
yeah.
good. Experience the pain of it,
Experience the pain, absolutely.
Okay.
So who knows? It'll probably completely backfire, and they'll end up,
Yeah, they'll be like, "This is great.
21.
Dad's my bank, and he's let me. I can buy whatever I want." Yeah, I guess you just have to feel it out. I feel like that's the theme of this episode today. Is you just kind of have to feel it out. Like, when it comes to inflation or lifestyle creep or raising your kids, you kind of have to feel it out, and figure out what you need to do. I've had a few moments where I'm literally doing a budget meeting, and especially my oldest Flora, who's 7 now. I'll put her in my lap and let her see the budget. I'm not worried about her going and talking and whatever, because she has no context, but like, I do show her, like, this is how much we spend on groceries or something, and she's like, it's so much, because all she knows is her birthday money and her allowance and stuff. And it's kind of interesting to see her eyes light up when she sees how much money especially now that she's like really like doing proper math, you know. She's like carrying the one and all that, and you know, she
Sure.
like understands like hundreds, like 3-digit numbers. She grasps that
Ooh.
now. So she can understand like the grocery budget. So it's kind of interesting to see as she gets older, she has context for understanding what those numbers mean, you know. But you feel it out as they get older, I think.
Yeah, completely. All right, good topic. Good question there.
Hmm.
All right, question 4 here from Lisa. What are different ways to estimate how much we should save for home repairs? I've heard of lots of great, fun, worthwhile, creative ideas from this group, but wondering what YNAB recommends.
Hmm.
I think on this one, we're just coming back to you kind of
you
feel
feel
it
it
out, right?
out. Yes.
I mean, we don't really prescribe a certain way to estimate those charges. What do
No,
you do,
I mean,
Ben?
I've heard of all sorts of things like certain percentage of the value of your home every year should be saved. That might be helpful if you're like brand new and you don't really know. But yeah, why not? We really try not to give dollar amounts because everybody's situation is so different. I mean, you might have a home that's valued. You might have two homes that are valued at like $500,000 each, but one of those homes is like this old historic home where you're like doing a service to the community keeping this building up, right? And that's going to cost a lot more than this like newly built, you know, house that has the same value. So it's really hard to give a percentage or anything like that. You just have to live in your house and you have to feel it out. That's really it. I mean, it's going to take you a couple of years to really get a sense of it. Um, and again, it's just like the what we talked about with inflation. If I see, you know, I feel like if you're in your budget every day and you're reconciling regularly and you're just looking at things, you'll get a feeling like, you know, I feel like we just haven't had enough for our home repairs. I've had to move money there a few times, you know. Um, maybe we should increase that. And then you just, you know, you adjust those targets. You increase that, you remove it from somewhere else, and then you see how that feels. And you just kind of, it's just trial and error. I think that really is the only way to do it
I,
properly.
I was going to say that same phrase. For me, it's trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, I just pick an amount. Okay, this is what I've always done, or this is what I think I need to do, see how it feels, and then adjust, adapt. I've been doing that with my yard. So we've been in this house almost 2 years now. I thought I had the yard dialed in. So I'd been committing $50 to the lawn and yard category, building that up over the winter.
Hmm.
But now in spring, it's almost depleted
Oh,
because I
right.
have all these other projects I want to do. So I'm like, probably need to up this so that over the winter I can save a little bit more. And now I'm just going to spend all summer and fall
Right.
rolling with the punches, pulling money from other categories.
I have the same thing with my pool category where it's seasonal like that, you know, and I save all year for it. But like throughout the winter and the most of the fall, I'm not spending anything on it. And then I'll spend a lot in the summer. And yeah, this past summer it was like not enough. It was just straight up not enough. Like because prices have gone up so much on all the pool supplies I needed. So I adjusted that and I've been saving more all throughout the winter, you know. Because so yeah, you just kind of feel it out. I think a lot of this, if folks want to have these easy answers where it's like, how much should I say? What's the percentage? Tell me the amount, you know, because it's not fun to live in this tension of I'm not really sure how much I need, you know.
That's
But I
true.
think with budgeting, you really need to embrace that tension. Just say, you know what, I'm gonna be okay with not knowing the answer to this question, and
Yeah.
but I have a framework, I have a mechanism for finding out the answer to that question over the long run, and being okay with that. And so I think really having a budget allows you to live in that tension and not feel insecure because you know eventually you're going to work it out. And now I'm in a place with my home repairs where I think it's been good. It's been good for many years, and I haven't changed it, you know, and I've always had enough. So I think that you just kind of have to live in that tension, and that's okay.
And maybe taking a little bit of time, either once a year or every quarter, to just go through the numbers, right? And
Mm,
look exactly what's available and just kind of see, how does that number feel? You know, does it feel like I have enough, or am I kind of skimping here?
yeah,
And then make those adjustments. But just taking that time to almost burn down the budget
yeah,
and see, would you put the same amount of money in that category, if you were to start
yeah.
over?
Sometimes it's too much. You know, you might look in that and be like, oh my gosh, I got couple $1,000 in there. Am I really going to have a repair, like a car repair that's that much? Those kinds of questions could be helpful.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Good question. So Shelly May came in with a question almost right before we started recording. So I'm glad I caught it because I think it's a really good one. She said, I was wondering if I have too many car categories. Okay, so this is getting in the weeds. She said, I have 14 auto categories and only one car. I love it.
Exclamation point.
Should I had 15, but now I have 14. So she scrapped one, so that's good. Put right into the upcoming new all-season tires. Okay, so she said here's her categories. I'm gonna read them out because I think it's really interesting to get into the weeds here. Categories are car wash, CAA, which is like a Canadian AAA, driver's license fees, repairs, and this is where it gets really specific. Battery, tires, grouped both winter and all seasons together. Okay. Tire storage. So I guess she has to store the winter tires, which Ernie knows all about, but I don't know anything about that in Virginia.
Right. Yeah, you don't have winters.
No, I don't do that.
Here in
Wisconsin. We don't need winter tires.
You change out. You switch to winter tires. And then you got to store the summer tires somewhere.
I guess, yeah, Shelly May needs to store her tires, so she pays for that. Tire seasonal rotations. Okay. Maintenance, which is interior cleaning, wipers, oil filters, a new to me car, black car Waterloo, which I'm not sure what that is, Empire CLS, don't know what that is, and then taxi and Uber, and then also parking. Okay, so and she's like, do I have too many categories? And all right, I'm just gonna go out on a limb. Shelly, Shelly, you have too many categories. It's too much. It's too much. Pretty much all of this could probably be just car maintenance, I think, and just put it all in one and keep it simple.
Now, if at first you wanted to really maybe dial in on what you were spending on that stuff, I can see the purpose there. But now that you've maybe gathered that information,
yeah,
you can roll it all.
Well, it's kind of like what Lisa was asking. How do I figure out how much I need to save for home repairs? Maybe or if it's for cars, maybe you do dial it in at first so you can really get a sense of it. But now that Shelly May's done it for a while, and Shelly May clearly knew the answer to this question, I think, when she asked it, I think you can put it together, and that's okay. So I'm thinking like, okay, car wash, yeah, that's going to be your AAA might need to be a separate category. Because it's like a subscription, right? Basically.
Yep.
Driver's license fees, repairs, battery. Okay. Repairs, battery, tires, tire storage, tire seasonal rotations, maintenance. That's one category. That's just car maintenance, right? Put it all in one right there. Driver's license fees. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty specific. I might even put that. I actually have a category called other taxes, and it's just like all the random taxes you have to pay. That's why I put that out.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I break mine out separate because there's 2 fees due at very specific months. And so
you want to be sure
I plan for those.
Yeah, I just have like anytime I'm paying the government for stuff, like whether it's local or state government, I'll just put it in that other taxes category.
Okay.
Yeah, a new to me car is probably good for a separate thing, and then maybe like something separate for Uber, So yeah, maybe like 4 or 5 of these categories. You could bring it down into 4 or 5 instead of 15, or maybe even 3. But yeah, I think it's really awesome that Shelly May got so detailed because I could see the thinking. It's like, well, I got to think about winter, and winter has all these things I have to think about, So you're going to create categories for all those, but it can just get overwhelming when you have that many categories. It's a lot to keep up with,
Yeah, and then just planning out how much you need in each category, setting those targets. Is this spending? Is this from this category or this category?
And the timing of it, you got to think about. It's just, oh man, yeah. It's not just creating the categories or adding transactions. It's all the thinking about how much you should put in and when you should put it in. It's a lot. It's a lot to think about. So I would, and also I don't think it's that helpful for reporting. Like, here's the thing. This isn't going to change Shelly May's behavior. Like, she's going to get her winter tires. She's going to store her winter tires. She's going to do maintenance, right? It's not like she's going to not do some of these things just because she's tracking it separately. So track things that are actually going to affect your behavior, not stuff that's just there because you want to track it separately,
And I'm just spitballing here, but with that car wash, maybe just delete that category and you put it under entertainment.
We were talking about this before we started. Yeah, I have.
We've
done
both
that.
done this.
Well, because the kids love the car wash. It's like the best thing every time.
The
we pass it.
rainbow soap.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it's all
They know
about.
what they're doing. Every time we pass there's like this big car wash place near my house. Every time we pass it, the kids are like, "Can we get a car wash? It's so much fun." And I'm like, I usually say no, but sometimes I'll be like, "Well, the car does need a wash." And it is pretty fun. And I always like to, you're driving through, and there's like the blowers that dry the car off.
Yep.
Do you ever roll the window down when you go through those blowers?
No, never.
I do that every time we're going through the blowers. I let it, and then I'll roll the windows down, and it's so fun because the air is blowing everywhere. There's like papers flying all around the car, and the kids are screaming at the top of their lungs. Yeah, you got to try it.
That's making me sweat just thinking about that. It's like all those America's Funniest Home Videos of the windows being down. I'm just like, no.
There's probably someone going to tell me in the comments, being like, "Ben, that is extremely dangerous." But it's like chaos. It's so great. It's so fun. So if you need a dose of chaos, go through a car wash and then roll your windows down when you're going through the air dryers and have some fun with that. Unless it's dangerous. Somebody tell me in the comments. I love
that you do that.
That's a bad idea. But
and I love even more that you have actually categorized car washes as entertainment.
Yes, I have. So, I've split it. I'll be like, so like I'll spend like a $14. I'm like, I'm gonna go for the deluxe car wash. Get the $14 one with the undercoat, the under the vehicle wax coat thing. Why would you even care? And and I'll put like, okay, I'm gonna put $7 on auto maintenance and $7 on entertainment, because really it's about half and half is why I went to the car wash.
Man, that is savvy.
Speaking of spending too much time, like adding too much work for yourself in your budget, splitting up your car wash transaction. I don't really practice what I preach, but there you go.
Good points, though.
All right.
Excellent. Well, that was a great question. Thank you, Shelly Mae. All right. Well, let's head into some YNAB wins. How does that sound, Ben?
Sounds good. Good questions, everybody.
What was all in your mind?
All right, so YNAB wins. We are sharing wins from the community, so mindset shifts or maybe folks accomplishing some sort of goal. We have two of them here. I'll start it off, Ben. My YNAB win comes from Michelle. Michelle says, my YNAB win, after about a year of using YNAB, bringing my husband on board, watching the videos, listening to money podcasts, getting rid of our second car, not because we couldn't afford it, but because we didn't want to afford it. Now using that money to save up for an EV car. Ooh. I have everything dialed in to a point where my money is boring. Happy that things are boring, but need a new way to spend my time.
Love it.
Congratulations on making your money boring. And if I may, I would suggest the Pixel Pro golf game. It's fantastic. $299.
$299. You don't have ads. It's great. Oh, good for you, Michelle. I love that. I love that you're like, I feel like we got my hobby taken away. I'm not adjusting the budget enough anymore. Yeah.
Well, you can just stare at your budget. That's what a lot of budget nerds do too.
Yeah, plenty of staring time. It's good. All right. Well, I have Stephanie, and I haven't read this at all. Ernie set this up for me since I was away, so I'm going to read this now. I have a YNAB win after my dad's payout from work since his terminal illness diagnosis. We were able to fill out the rest of the budget till the end of the year with extra. Awesome. Truly blessed. But also this month, I could help my mom finally be debt-free with the help of YNAB. Took just over 2 years, a personal loan, a car loan, and 2 credit cards, but we did it. That is so awesome. I mean, you've taken a hard thing and got a really wonderful blessing out of it, which is really great. And not only for yourself, but for your mom too. I mean, that's really wonderful. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well done, Stephanie.
Yeah. Thanks for the wins. If you guys have any wins, it could be paying off debt. It could just be a mindset shift. Maybe you're like Michelle and your win is that things are boring with your money. Let us know in the comments and maybe you'll appear in a future episode. Thanks a bunch.
All right. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. We'll see y'all later. Bye.